Hey everybody, welcome to Playbook by Laserforce Loveland. This podcast is a platform for laser tag players to geek out about strategies, stories, and ongoings in the Laserforce scene, and for you to join us as another player at the table. My codename is Mischief. I'm a player from Loveland, Colorado who loves to talk about tag. And tonight I am joined by Lucidun from the Czech Republic, or now living in Brisbane, Australia. Lucy, how you doing tonight?
Ahoy everyone, which means hello everyone in Czech. Nice to be guest at your podcast, Luke. Nice to hear you again after Nets. And I'm sending greetings from very hot Brisbane, where summer is about to start.
Oh my goodness. Right now here in Colorado, all the leaves are falling off the trees and it's getting cold. The earth is funny, I like that. And for the hello in Czech, what did you say again? What's hello?
Ahoy. It's like in pirate speak. It's ahoy.
Okay, yes, I was gonna say. I thought you were gonna say, and that means hello in pirate, but then you said Czech, and I'm like, ooh.
No, it's in Czech. we're
it's
pirates,
both.
I know.
Well, ahoy to you too. I'm gonna say that from now on.
Yay!
Anyway, so yeah, Lucy is a player who she has recently burst onto the scene, and we had a few ideas for what to talk about, but we decided we're gonna simultaneously go with arena design as kind of the main topic for tonight, and we're also going to talk a little bit about the Laserforce scene within the Czech Republic, which is, you know, Lucidun's just home country, and she knows the sites there a lot better than I do. But Lucy, could you start by telling me a little bit about your origin story as a player?
Of course. It all happened 5 years ago when I was invited to go for like a casual laser tag night with my friends. And they were like, hey, come and join us. You know, we need people to play. So me and my dad came to site and we started to play. My dad was out of 5 minutes because he was like, I hate it because I tagged them, and you know, after like a couple of minutes they're back on and they're following me. So he went out of the maze after 5 minutes. I resisted. I kept going, and I started to go out regularly with that group every week. In my second week of playing, I think I got my members card, and since that I kind of got involved in the Pilsen laser game community, which is also the first Laserforce Czech site in Czech Republic, Pilsen. And I think it was after a month, I was invited by 2 other players from that group to be like a mercenary for their team in our league competition, because they were struggling to find a third one. And I was like, hey guys, you know, I'm just playing like for a month and I'm just a level 3. And you want me to play with you the A League? And they were like, yeah, it's fine. Just come and play with us. so yeah, I got my ass whooped very badly. But everyone was like, hey, you know, you are new, but you can learn and you can tag with us every Tuesday. We have a members night. So I started going to members nights. Then the owner noticed me because, you know, there aren't many artists around at our scene, and he was like, hey, I would like you to help me decorate our maze. It was, I think, the beginning of July. So I was like, yeah, let's go. And he basically handed me sprays with UV paints, and he let me do what I can. And that was my summer in a nutshell for the first year. And after some time, he showed me around like how to deal with the Laserforce system, etc. Because I was able to paint like between the reservations, between when people weren't playing. And one day he was like, hey, you know what? If you want, you can like work here part-time. I was like, heck yeah. So I received keys. I started working at the site in the end of 2019. And I became known in the wider community, like thanks to playing, but mostly thanks to creating the art, because, you know, you notice that when your arena goes from blank walls to being filled with like, I don't know, jungle themes or like arcade themes or something like that. So people started noticing me. And then the COVID struck. But thanks to that, I was able to spend most of the time in the closed laser tag site and paint and paint and paint, basically. So we repainted the whole maze from gray to black. Plus, I was able to create new artworks. And trust me, it was funny to just see one person almost each day of the week. It was kind of getting crazy, but everything was fine in the end. But it was like, hey, it's the same person. Nice to see you again. So yeah, it continued like that. Then last year, I ended my cooperation with that site because of some things happened. And I was open to like another arenas to help them. So I started helping at Stardoms, not only with the artwork, but mostly with like the settings of the games or like, the operator stuff. I also went to Fantasy Laser Game in Karlovy Vary, and I helped them with painting. I was there for 3 nights, I think, 4 days and 3 nights. Yeah.
Wow.
And I helped them decorate a big part of a wall, which included like Dragon's Cave with a big dragon eye. And I also started being member of MT community, which translates to Magor in Czech, which means crazy person, really crazy person.
Okay.
And
so really just like any laser tag community, just the crazy person.
Yeah, but this one's a specific because we do like hour-long games, 2-hour-long games, 4-hour-long games, etc. I'm gonna get to that later. But I've started cooperating with the MT community, and I've had the thought of creating a Czech Laserforce podcast in my head for a long time. And one of the main muggers called Trimon, Martin, he was like, hey, I want to support you. So we started doing MT podcast, which like recaps everything what happens in the Czech Laserforce scene during the last month. And I'm currently editing an episode which will be called Summer Special. I'm still editing that because, I went to the other side of the world. I'm still here. I'm still getting used to the new things. But I promised them that I will be making a huge episode about what happened during the summer. And trust me, there are a lot of things on our scene. So this is like my story in a nutshell. And yes, I obviously decided to go to the other side of the world to internationals, to meet all the people in real life, to get my ass whooped again by the international rules, by the resets in Space Marines 5, because we don't play them back home that much, which is a shame, in my opinion. And now I ended up in Brisbane for 2.5 years, school, and got my part-time job in Laserforce.
Wow, that is quite the journey. Thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah.
And did you mention that you also helped paint the Auckland arena too?
Oh, I forgot about it. Yes, you're right. I left my mark on the other side of the world in the Auckland maze because I think it was originally Stallion's idea. At one of the resupply stream, he was like, hey, you should leave a mark in there, and they should call it like the Lucy part. Right. So I told that to GND, he told that to Rohan and Andre. I contacted them as well, and they were more than happy to have me there. And thanks to me, there will be 2 parts of the arena like nicknamed now, because the downstairs is now nicknamed the prison because I painted it like Space Prison.
Oh.
And one of the parts where was the beacon next to the yellow part, that's gonna be called the lab, because there's like a big android pumped with cables. There's also like a big tank with jellyfish. Yeah, it's gonna be the lab.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened right after I flew all the way across the world, played in that arena for a week, and then left. And then the really cool design happens.
Yeah,
like, man, I seen the picture. I've seen the pictures. It looks amazing, but it's not going to be the same as going into the arena and experiencing it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so this episode, we, like I said, arena design, it's going to be more about visual design than specific like gameplay design, just so that I'm clear
Yep.
with the audience about that. We'll probably talk about it minorly, but maybe on a different episode I'll get into, like how many floors are best and windows or no windows, that kind of thing. But today is mostly about Lucy's specialty, where you've painted like, was that 3 4 arenas then, or had a mark on that many?
Yeah, I think it was around 4 or 5 actually.
4 or 5, yeah. So, man, like you talked about how the first time you kind of almost got a reputation because you painted the arena. And
Yeah.
what was the other players' reactions when they came in and saw the paint for the first time and got to play in that new arena?
I mean, not having any art at all back in the original maze, they
Hmm.
were like stunned when they saw that something is like happening in there. Because I remember the first thing I've created was near the blue base, and it was a big plant with eyes and teeth, like smiling at the players
Hmm.
before eating them. And like, yeah, like the fluorescent jungle theme, which then established the blue part of the arena later. So yeah,
Hmm.
the players were like, hey, this is new, but it looks cool. And I was like, well, thank you. You did that. Yeah. Wow, good job.
Yeah. So they were pretty excited, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Like, I remember my arena in Loveland, Colorado has had an evolution of paint over the years. If I go back about 12 years, the lighting was much more dim. The colors were less vibrant and a lot less detailed. I mean, there were still the black lights and still some of the general themes, but we've gotten probably 3 or 4 like touch up phases over the years, like different parts got repainted or we added a bunch to an area that never really had much detail before. And I think the biggest thing that stands out to me is that it helps with the immersion of playing a game. It goes from being kind of like you're pretty much in a warehouse, no matter what arena you're playing in. It really is just like a big room where we put up a bunch of, wooden walls and railings and platforms and things like
Yep.
that. But paint seems to go, or design seems to go a long ways towards helping you feel like you're in a pharaoh's tomb or in the jungle or in a space prison, whatever it is. I mean, can you talk more about like how what good arena design does for the experience?
Um, I will say that each arena back in Czech Republic has its specific theme. Like there's the arena in Doms. I will nickname those or some of those because they're hard to pronounce for you and some for me as well. So the
Sure.
arena in Doms, in Stardoms, they are specialized in Star Wars theme since the name
Okay.
Stardoms.
Mm.
So they have a bunch. I remember they had the battle droids, the Death Star, Darth Vader, Yoda on the walls. But yes, in general, it feels like you are in some of the maze or still the warehouse. But
Hmm.
I already planned some help to like create the immersive experience for them. They just need to wait 2.5 years since when I return. When we talk about the fantasy laser game, they are basically oriented on fantasy themes, so like medieval or like dragon, magic. I even think they have like some kind of a rainforest similar to Pandora from Avatar in there, but
Sure.
it looks pretty cool. They even have a like big tower in the middle of the maze where you kind of can see the stones of the tower like going out thanks to the UV paint. It looks really cool, and uh, this maze is actually called one of the best like art design amongst our community. And yeah,
Hmm.
I can see why. Then if we talk about the unicorn, the Tomix one, they are situated. The first part of the maze is mostly situated like, I think they call it Planet of Unicorns, but I would say like Jungle Full of Unicorns, to be honest.
Okay.
But still, it has its own like magic. And if we talk about the Prague ones, there are 2.5 in Prague. The half one serves mostly like just an entertaining one for like tourists, and they don't have like memberships anymore. Plus, when you play there, it doesn't go up to your played arenas on I Play Laserforce. So Prague technically has 2 arenas with 2 mazes in each, so four arenas.
Wow.
And yeah, each one of them, like 2 sides with 2 mazes inside. And one side is situated with like old Prague with the golem. The second one in that side is situated like an underwater experience, and their art is pretty amazing. And on the other side at Branik, I think they have like the jungle one, which is the big maze, with even like having a tree in the middle of the maze with beacon inside, and having a spaceship bridge kind of a thing. And yes, you feel like you're on a spaceship with the beacon on quote unquote table. So yeah, each maze back at home has its own charm, I would say.
Right. Yeah, charm theme, as you mentioned, is a really big thing. Each one is distinguished by some kind of a different theme, and the experience of going into these mazes, getting to feel like you're on a planet of unicorns or going into the Star Wars universe or something like that. Yeah, like I can tell like it excites you to remember these different arenas and like the experiences within them. The design was a part of those experiences.
Yeah, it's sometimes funny just to stay like next to the entrance / exit of the arena and just listen to the people's reactions, because most of the time the children are pretty amazed from that, and they just run around and look at the walls and they're like, what? Wow!
So I wanted to ask you, what goes into good visual design in an arena?
Tricky one, but I would say it has to like get your attention on the first sight. So, like I said, basically, when children step inside the maze, they are greeted with some kind of an art. Let's say at our maze, the Pilsen one, when you go inside and get straight to the right, you will be greeted by the cyberpunk samurai logo kind of a thing. I just painted it in green because it's in green part of the maze. And most of the adults are like, wow, this is stunning. This is actually pretty good. Some children are like, well, you can hear the screaming, but most of the time they were like, great, and they're like, wow, this is cool. So it has to be something that can get your attention, that will leave good impression at your side or of your maze. Like I was talking about a fantasy one, because when I was there for the first time, I wasn't playing and I was literally just walking around and just looking at the artwork. but yeah, you need to like prepare or have a vision of what you want to create or present. Then you need to talk about it with the actual owner, and if he agrees, well, you're free to go basically and do everything. If he has some things to like get it right, you need to fix it, but most of the time you're good to go. And if he doesn't like it, well, you need to start from scratch.
Yeah, definitely. I'm hoping that this podcast might be useful to people who own sites and are in positions to make decisions about, oh, I want my arena to look like this or that.
Yeah, always when you hire an artist, tell him what is your vision, or what do you want to have inside? Because I remember that back when I started, our owner was like, well, I kind of leave it completely to you. I have
Mm-hmm.
there are some like photos what I would like to like see inside maybe, but it's completely up to you. And to be honest, I hate this approach because when you tell an artist it's up to you,
Mm-hmm.
you don't basically have a clue what to do. I mean, yes, you can create something, but if the owner doesn't like that, you basically need to grab black paint and repaint it. And it's kind of hard to like destroy something you've created, something you've spent many hours on,
Mm-hmm.
and then start again having to do another work.
Well, I just want to comment on that because I'm not a painter, but I am a videographer and I've done videography for clients who have told me, oh, I don't really know what I want. You just make something up. That's your job. And while that can be frustrating, I do think it allows for creative freedom to take hold of a project and well, then you're not limited by certain things that the owner might want, even if they don't know much about visual design, because that can also be hampering sometimes. Like
But
maybe the owner has an unrealistic expectation.
well, yes, but it's good to like have free hands, quote unquote, like in everything you want to do. But like I said, if you spend all your time like creating something that they won't like in the end, it just hurts.
Oh yeah, that's so annoying. Well, they
So
shouldn't
it's
give you the creative freedom if they're gonna tell you,
oh
oh, I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
like that.
yeah. So it's better to like have consultations with them even throughout like the work
Mm-hmm.
and have them to look at your work because they will
Yeah.
be like, yes, I like it, but can you add more of these or can you change this? And that's what I
Mm-hmm.
basically done while I was creating the art back home. So
That's a good middle ground. Ask the owner, like early on, what do you think so far, and kind of get their guidance as you go.
yeah.
Yeah. And I had some thoughts. Like I said, I'm not a painter, but I've been in a lot of arenas and I can definitely think um certain ones that stood out versus others. The ones that stood out, like the ones that had themes, definitely the themes did help stand out. I
Yeah.
think I'll always remember, and I want to just pay homage to my Sacramento friends. The Sacramento, California site was designed kind of like a fantasy Dungeons and Dragons type of theme. They had a
Ooh.
big dragon painted on the wall that looked like it was staring at you. There were castles and dungeons and like areas that looked like you were climbing up a rock hill and it was just very detailed. So themes definitely do stand out to your point. But there are some arenas that don't have a really strong theme, but they're still really nice to play in. I think of the St. George Arena. Um, it's it's just kind of laser tag themed was my
Yeah.
impression of the I don't know if you've ever seen the St. George Arena. If you look at one of the videos, we have like a highlight video from there
Oh yeah, yeah, I've
on
seen it.
Laserforce Loveland. It's very bright, lots of purple and orange. It was easy to shoot video in. You can distinguish walls from each other really well. There's kind of like four quadrants that like it's like there's red, blue, yellow, and green. And even though there wasn't a strong theme, I did find it an enjoyable arena to like maneuver around. And I thought it was pretty to be in. It was immersive, you know?
Hmm.
So those are some of my thoughts.
Yeah,
Um,
the this actually reminds me of Action World. I think it was in Switzerland. Yeah, yeah. Uh, just the background how I got there. I was in Switzerland in Zurich with my friends on a convention, and we had a free
mhm.
day. And I was like, "Hey, there's a Laserforce site, like 30 minutes from our hotel. Can we go there?" And they were like, "Well, yeah, we don't have anything else to do in the evening." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah."
Mhm.
Always remember to bring your member card everywhere you go. You don't know when it's gonna become handy. So we went there, and like honestly, the price to play one game was ridiculous. But,
Hmm.
I wanted to have the country because the 5 country achievement.
Right.
So I grabbed 3 of my friends. Uh, they had like 42 G7 battlesuits, if I remember that correctly. And we went inside, and the arena was massive. It was the
Ooh.
biggest so far that I've been to. The theme of the arena was kind of simple, like a geometric, I would say like a Tron, but it was far from Tron. But if I had to compare it to something, I would say Tron. So very
Sure.
geometric, straight lines and colors everywhere. It was like simplicity design, but it
Hmm.
functioned. It was good. Uh, and also they had big plane with Warbot inside there as well. And I learned that the airplane was real. It was a real plane that had flown in Switzerland, and now it's currently holding the Warbot inside it, and you can shoot it. And it was wow.
Sounds magnificent. Just the size of it and all the, I mean, all the lines and the details. I'm getting a visual in my head just from your description.
I can send you some photos after that, so you can maybe add it into the video as well if you want.
Oh no, we'll leave this to be audio only. But at the end, would
Okay.
love for you to plug some of your stuff because I know you've posted a lot of photos and you have your own podcast and for people to go
Yeah.
check you out and the art that you've
Oh
done.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, even though you have like simpler design of an arena, and it doesn't have to be as much as colorful or as much as themed. It functions if you have like um good structure of the arena. So there are like, I don't know, 8 bases, but let's say only 5 of them were turned on at the time, and it always changed the position of them. There were beacons, there was the warbot, there was even a score screen being projected in the maze, which was incredible. So
Wow.
yeah,
I've never seen that
it
before.
doesn't. Yeah, it looked very odd because they weren't using the current score screen, as you can see at most of the
Hmm.
monitors. They used the previous version, but still, you saw your current like performance during the game being projected at one of the walls, and that was incredible.
Wow. Now, that would be a huge game changer. And if we were to ever play
Yeah,
competitive Space Marines 5 or maybe laser not laser ball doesn't matter, everyone knows the score, but other game modes, but probably Space Marines like there'd probably be a pretty strong push to turn that off during competitive play because part of the
oh yeah,
game is not knowing how you're doing necessarily. But if it were turned on,
yeah.
I could just imagine people having to implement strategies to like get someone over there periodically and report back to the team what needs to happen based on the scoreboard. That would just be crazy.
Yeah, and this story also had an aftermath because 2 of the people from our group were like born in Switzerland, so they were able to speak the Swiss. So they
Hmm.
spoke with the owner about who I am because I was already in the resupply community. I was already known in the international
Hmm.
community.
Yeah.
And then he talked to me and he was like, "Hey, so where are you actually from?" And I was like, "Hey, I'm from Pilsen. I do paintings. I work in there. I'm connected into the resupply community. Here's the podcast." And it turned out that he took us around the whole facility because it wasn't just about laser tag. They also had like escape rooms in there and indoor mini golf. So he took us as a group around the whole facility. He even showed us some of the escape rooms and how it functions. He
Wow.
showed us the mini golf where they also had the UV part of the mini golf, which looked amazing. And I discovered that not just laser tag mazes are bound to have the UV paintings.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was incredible to see like the behind the scenes, just thanks to me creating art and being in an international community.
That was very nice of them to take you around and show you everything. But yeah, I've like there's a whole glow golf industry out there, I think, for UV light glow golf courses. Heck, honestly, if anyone from St. George is listening, your glow golf course has better art than your laser tag arena. It's kind of fun to walk around that. But yeah, there really is something to that, like just the almost the negative space when you have where like the canvas is pitch black and you're painting with these glowing colors. I wonder if you if there's any nuance to that. Like I do some Photoshop, so I wonder
Hmm.
if when you're choosing paint, is there anything to, I don't know, do you try to leave to use the darkness at all, or is there certain types of paints or colors you try to use or stay away from? It's
Well,
kind of a
if it comes to the playing with light and playing with the outcome, how the paints look like,
hmm
I need to mention that blue color and white color look almost the same under UV light. Even though it's
Okay,
white, it's always blue. I don't know why
I
it
didn't
is.
know that. Yeah, there's always like this blue purple tint for sure. That's part
Yeah,
of the
yeah, yeah.
black light, I think.
So back home, we were trying to like solve this issue, and we weren't able to resolve it, to be honest. So
hmm
um, most of the time, I was using the blue for just the blue part, and when I needed to create like something a bit lighter, I used kind of a coat paint, I would say, like the first layer on which you were able to put the white one, so it would actually look like a white one.
hmm
And yeah, when the lights were like poured directly to the artwork, it stood out. It was like brightened. And when we especially needed something like that, the owner was like, "Hey, yeah, I will put more lights here so people will notice that." Which I hope Ruan in Auckland will do as well, because the Space Marine wall is now partially invisible because they don't have many lights pointing on that wall.
Hmm.
But he promised me that he will add some of them, so we'll see. But yeah,
Okay.
sometimes
Hey, you hear that? It's on a podcast now in public. You promise. You gotta put them up. Sorry,
but
continue.
sometimes it's fine. Sometimes it's kind of okay not to have so many lights in there, because it kind of builds the atmosphere, and it's if someone is just roaming around and trying to find the secrets of the maze, like I do most of the time, you can even find some secrets. Like, I don't know, once hid a small cake referencing the cake from the portal, and I wrote there, "The cake is a lie." It was hidden just in a corner of one of the obstacles. And yeah, I like to add the small details to things, like when I've hidden a logo somewhere, I think. I don't exactly remember where it was or what was the painting, but I tend to hide logos or references to my artworks as well. Oh yeah, I remember now. It was the big Doomslayer in the men's locker room. So it wasn't in a maze, but it was in a side. So I painted the big Doom guy in the men's locker room during the pandemic when we were closed. It took me around 40 hours because I was repainting the green 4 times to reach the exact green shade I was looking for.
Oh my
And I have
gosh.
hid two references in there. I have hidden my initials in his sword and our site's logo in the sword as well, because I created the new logo for our site as well.
So that's interesting because earlier you talked about you want to be greeted by something really that stands out when you enter an arena, like something right up front that's obvious. But also, you want to have nooks and crannies of the arena with details and things to discover, like a reason to explore.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes sense. If it's just the one cool piece of artwork at the front and the rest of the arena is bland, it's almost like there's no reason to explore it except to find things for gameplay reasons, which is, for some people, that's way more important. But for, a person like you, clearly, like you said, you walk around arenas without even playing just to look at them. And I think there's a lot of
Yeah,
people that share that view.
yeah. Like most of the time, the first thing I do is grab my bases and then like roam around.
Yeah, just to admire. Okay. So hey, I have kind of the opposite end of a question for you then. What does poor visual design look like? What are some of the common mistakes and epic fails that you've seen?
uh, from the art point of view, uh, it's when something isn't like proportionally right. So let's say you have some kind of a person on a wall or something like that, and they look like they've been in a bad car accident. You know what I mean? Yeah. So some fails like these, or when the maze is like, hey, yeah, we just finished our brand new artwork. Come and check it out. Then you come in there and you see that half of the walls aren't finished. So you're thinking like, oh yeah, this is supposed to be finished. What are you telling me? This is clearly
Mhm.
unfinished. Or uh, thinking about, because I haven't seen any like bad examples in my life, thankfully.
Mm.
Most of the sites, like I said, are really great done, really great design, even though some of them doesn't have artworks yet, like the Aurora one. They are still
Mhm.
like in progress with building the site, because uh, honestly, they have kitchen sink inside the maze. And there goes a funny story with that. While I've had Morrigan from the Resupply community and El Diablo back in Czech
Mhm.
Republic before one of the SM5 tournaments, we went around the sites, and when we went to the Aurora one, I was like, hey, there's a kitchen sink. And Morrigan was like, okay, go and hide there and drop a nuke. And I was like, I've already done that while I was here for the last time. So yeah, since then our like emergency word for the whole tournament was like kitchen sink.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, I get you. Thinking back, most arenas are cool to look at, and if they're open to the public, they're not exactly going to be um, unfinished usually.
Yep.
But I have some examples in my mind. I'm not going to call out any arena specifically because I've been to a lot of them, and so I'm not specifically talking about like certain ones I've played in
Hmm.
a lot. There are tons out there, um, and yeah, you start out with a big dark room, and I think the worst arena designs are ones that don't really venture too far from that. If an arena is mostly black walls, um, the black lights and the black walls plus the laser tag by itself, honestly, usually does all right, in my opinion. Like you don't need much to get by, but the that can definitely start to ruin the illusion pretty quickly, where you just start to feel like, oh, I'm just in a big warehouse. Um, you even start to feel self-conscious, or I do at least. I'm like, well, here I am playing a kid's game in a rinky-dink warehouse.
Yeah, I know what do you mean, because that's basically how my maze looked back then before I
Back
started
then.
painting there. They were just like strings with the or UV colored strings at some
Hmm.
of the points of the obstacles, and that was basically all.
Um, there was another example I want to bring up. The Auckland maze, actually. It's kind of like a good and a bad with the Auckland maze. The good is that when I first stepped in, before you painted it recently, Lucy, I actually loved it. It was so dark, but there were like lots of little areas where the black light stood out a lot. And I felt really I felt excited because it was an arena that I could use my stealth in a lot, just because of how much they allowed there to be shadow. And I
Yep.
don't think many places do that. Like I actually enjoy either full arenas or parts of arenas where it's not totally lit up and there are some more shadowy and dark areas. But that being said, um, there were a couple corners in the Auckland maze that were really easy to hit yourself on because they were
Oh
so
yeah.
obscured by the darkness. And so for the tournament, we actually, I begrudgingly agreed, like, yes, it was the right call to turn on the lights so that people could play safely rather than
Yeah,
play
yeah,
in
yeah.
the really cool darkness. So that's kind of like it's a good and a bad thing, I guess, to have areas where there's lots of darkness.
I have a story with that actually. Back
Go ahead.
home, when we repainted the maze to black during the COVID, because it was used to be gray, and we repainted it to black because the first reason it looks cooler. The second reason was that people didn't brought the arena home with you because if you were sweaty and you just slam yourself to the wall or stood next to the wall, you were immediately covered in gray. Honestly.
Interesting.
And yeah, and the third reason is, or why we did it was because of the artworks, and hand in hand goes that we highlighted the edges of the obstacles.
Yes,
So
good
basically
call.
people weren't like that in danger. And while we try to like settle if we highlight every slope, basically when you have the obstacle, it can be like two like put together and a slope between them. So we tried to paint the slope in between them in white and plus the edges, but it looked like an entrance to somewhere else. Like, no. We won't do the middle ones because there's like a possibility that someone will try to run
It's
through
gonna
the
run through
obstacle.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we just, or our owner, he took care of that. He painted the edges, and I kind of like highlighted one of the edges in the Auckland as well. Because I don't know how it happened, but when I was playing a Lunacy Night, we were playing Gladiator, and I wasn't running. I wasn't even fast walking. But I suddenly slammed myself into the corner of the obstacle. I got a
Oh,
warning from the suit. Uh, my knuckles were bruised, and I bruised also my forehead.
goodness gracious. And you had already
Yeah,
been playing there for a while.
yeah, and I was still playing. Like I was, this hurts, but I must keep playing. It was like in the beginning of the game, and till this day, I still don't know how it happened. So I
Sure.
was like, okay, so I'm leaving tomorrow for Christchurch, but when I return, I'm gonna like highlight this edge of the obstacle, and I did that. So Auckland,
Wow.
you're safer now.
I mean, when you're walking around the arena admiring it, that's one thing. But when you're a player trying to win the game, use cover, you're not paying as much attention to the arena, and so I think those edges become a lot more important.
Yep,
Throwing the looks out the window and just highlighting those dangerous corners so that your mind unconsciously detects it. That's
yep.
also a really important part of visual design.
Yeah, and that's basically why we did it back home, because when we looked at the edges before we started like repainting it black, uh, they were severely damaged, and we wanted to like avoid that. So we sprayed paint on them depending on which part of the arena they are. So the Pilsen maze is also divided into four parts: red, blue, green, and yellow, depending
Hmm.
on which part you are. So the themes are, so yellow is like the electricity room from Among Us. I actually
Hmm.
painted
Nice.
like the whole tasks in there as well. The blue one is jungle. The green one is like, I would say arcade, because it has the cyberpunk thing, and the retro pixel Space Invaders as well on the wall. And the red one, that was kind of open theme, but it used to be like radioactive part. But the only thing I can recall now is the big Doomslayer logo from Doom Eternal and Johnny Silverhand from Cyberpunk.
That sounds really cool. I'd love to see that.
I'll send you the photos.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Send me all of them. Yeah, after we're done. And especially if there's like ways for people to see these themselves if they're listening.
Oh
But
yeah. There are actually like ways to see it. They are, if they are in the resupply Discord, I put a lot of photos in the arts and craft section in the arts and craft channel. If you are on Instagram, you can find me as Lucidun_D. I have also like full story reel, I would say, of like my laser tag journey and my laser tag art, or my Facebook page, Lucidun, as well. And my
For
YouTube
sure.
channel, Lucidun, as well.
Awesome. I'm going to ask you about that at the very end. So
we can do that again.
there it is once. Write it down, and if you didn't get it, get ready for it again because it's coming. But before we move on to that, like I also wanted to talk about just the Czech Laserforce scene. Because that's kind of where you resigned, and I was talking with Tomik on another one of our podcasts.
Great episode, by the way.
Oh, Tomik's a great person to talk to. He's a side owner out in Czech, and he said that there's like 13 or 14 arenas that all run laserball tournaments out there.
Oh yeah, almost most of the sites run laserball, and like I said, there are 9.5 arenas in 8 sites in Czech Republic. So,
and like arenas having a site having multiple arenas. That's not something I've ever seen out here in the U.S. And so, just my initial impression, it just sounds like Laserforce is booming in the Czech Republic. Because out here in the U.S., we only have a few active sites that do Space Marines 5 or have these active member bases that we know of. I'm sure there's other out there that we haven't really gotten in contact with, but can you talk a little about just the Czech Republic and Laserforce?
Of course. So basically, in the beginning, there was just the Pilsen side, and in Prague, the Mercuria H side. Again, nicknaming them because it's hard to pronounce for you. And then the expansion started to Mercuria B in Prague as well. Oh, I forgot to mention Liberec. So, okay, there are 10 sites. Or, never mind, I'll get to that. So, 3 of those were in the beginning. Then I think Stardoms was the 4th. Then there was Fantasy Laser Game. Then there was Tomik side. Then there was another branch of Mercuria in Liberec. Then there was Aurora, and I think I'm missing someone. Never mind, I'm gonna return to that. So our standard competitive mode is basically team standard. So team of 3 people, everyone on level 1 with just the rapid fire, and you get minus 50 points if you tag your own teammate. We also tried to add a thing at last year's league, which was -5 wherever you shot and didn't hit something or someone. It was incredible to like see it. It was something different. It made some people to rethink their strategy, because there are some people who are able to shoot 2,000 shots in 15 minutes. And
holy cow! Did you say 2,000?
Yeah, 2,000.
I'm gonna do the math on that. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing, to be honest. And every time I seen that, I was like, hey, Stuart, tell me how. You were just like constantly pulling the trigger. And he was like, yeah. So yeah, this is our main competitive game mode. Teams of 3 or 4 at some tournaments. battling the other teams, and whoever scores the most wins, basically. Then there are individual tournaments in different game modes, such as Pilsen do like every month you compete in a different game mode, and all your results contributes to the whole year, kind of an individual league, and at the end you can win the Pilsen Cup, I think. I don't know how it is now. I'm kind of
Interesting.
lost in it now. But back in the days, yeah, every month there was a league on Sunday and individual tournament on one of the Tuesdays. And yeah, we compete in Gladiator or in Revolver, which is kind of a modified dead aim, I would say, or in Allied, which is basically standard, but you get minus 50 for being tagged. What else we did? We also did Universal Soldier back in the days, which was a individual tournament which consisted of 4 game modes, including the standard one, the standard, the Revolver, Color Conquest, I think, was there, and Gladiator. And who got the most points in each of the category was the overall winner and Universal Soldier.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah,
just doing a bunch of different game modes, and they all kind of accumulate towards your overall stats.
Yeah, I like the idea of it. Then with the addition of Laser Ball, obviously Laser Ball is booming right now back in Czech Republic. Not only in like children groups or children categories, but also in the adult ones. I think this weekend there's gonna be a big Laser Ball tournament in Aurora again, like earlier this year. And most of the time the German teams come to compete in that as well, which is interesting.
They travel to the Czech Republic?
Yeah.
Okay.
We know them, like, because they travel to most of the sites now, mostly to Doms, to Aurora, and I think I've seen they are now returning to Pilsen as well.
Gotcha.
Then okay, so these are like the standard things. Then there are like the empty things, the crazy things. So like I said in the beginning, Magor meaning crazy person, or I think I saw the official definition in the dictionary as nuthead. I'm just this was in the dictionary. So crazy person. And with those people, we do special tournaments. So I don't know if this year there's gonna be the series of tournament, but last year we did a series of tournament at each of the, well, not each, but almost each of the Laserforce site, and it was an hour-long individual game where whoever scored the most was the winner. So, and when you destroy the base, it was turned off for 3.5 minutes, I think. So it wasn't easy to get the bases. Because, imagine that you have like 14 to 16 people in one maze for an hour. And throughout the hour, anything can happen, basically. So basically, most of the time, the first player was leading by a huge amount of points, but the battles for second, third, and fourth place were immersive until the end, and most of the times the differences were between like one shot and 500 points. And I remember that at the very last tournament in the series, the first place in the bottom group slipped away from me for just one shot. So yeah.
Really, just one over that amount of time?
Or even just one time being tagged, because there was a special rule that if you get tagged, you will lose 10 points. So I think it was one death actually.
That's
So
tough.
yeah, crazy tournaments like the hour-long series. Then we also do 2-hour long tournaments, which is like a continuous gladiator. So you basically get an order, and in that order, the players come into an arena, they play the classic gladiator, and once they're
Hmm.
out, the people waiting outside will get to play, and you stand in a queue, and once it's your time to go again, you just log in, jump in, and try to score the most again. And this goes for 2 hours straight. So continuous gladiator, Magor style. And I actually won that
Wow.
one in the ladies category while we were doing it in February. Yeah. I won the ladies category in my last attempt and placed fourth in total, which was amazing. Then we also do
Wow.
like 4 hour long relays. So it's a standard game where each team gets separate membership card with the team name. They log the suit,
Hmm.
and then they physically pass the suit to like other member of the team, and they go inside. Once they're like feeling exhausted, they go out, they pass the suit to another player, and this goes for 4 hours. When we were playing that, I played for 2 hours of the game time, of the total game time.
This is insane. So I'm
That's why it's
comparing,
called Magor.
that's amazing. So I'm comparing this to a US perspective or to a Laserforce tournaments perspective. We play pretty much Space Marines 5 worldwide and in the US. That's as far as I know with the community I'm part of. This separate community within the Czech Republic, within Germany, and I don't know how much like the UK is part of that, or I don't know. But there's so many different formats that you all do, and they all sound like a blast, to be honest. I was
uh,
talking with my site leader, Sergeant Tucker, the other night, and I was
huh?
just saying we should really start playing just like one non-Space Marines game a night. 'Cause I feel like we get a little too into Space Marines, and we're really just like we're losing our love for laser tag in general. The for fun, the all the different game modes that are out there that we're just kind of overlooking in favor of this one game. I mean, you're making so much use of all that Laser Force is capable of.
Like, honestly, this is what happened to me back home because I kind of got tired of the standard competition thing. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, hey guys, I want to play Space Marines. And this was like 3 years ago or so.
Sure.
I want to play Space Marines. And everyone was like, nah, it's too hard. It's too
Mm-hmm.
hard to explain. I was like, no, if we can settle down and like learn it or play it, like non-aggressive style, we
Sure.
can play it here. So basically, no, we don't play Space Marines. Sometimes we play SM4 because, you can be eliminated. Because I think the most scariest thing for all the players is the thing that you can be eliminated.
Sure.
Uh, so that's the first thing. The second thing that goes hand in hand with that is resets. Because we don't play with resets in Czech Republic.
Sure.
Uh, as playing here on the other side of the world and NAS and everything, I kind of start getting the resets thing. I'm still learning
Mm-hmm.
that. It's hard to learn because I'm used to completely different thing. Like when you get shot, you just run and hide and you don't fight basically.
Mm-hmm.
And you wait until you go back up. But with resets, you don't you can or yeah you can't do this because if you stand somewhere and someone is behind you, they just reset off someone and they keep tagging you. So the reset is another thing, and I think it was GND who told me this, that Laser Force is Laser Force because of resets. Uh, I I always reply to that. Well, Laser Force is Laser Force because you have the variety of game modes it offers. Because back in Auckland, almost no one had known zombies, the survivors.
Mm-hmm.
No one had known Level Up. Level Up is also very popular in Czech Republic because
Mm-hmm.
we kind of modified it, and we use it for the groups that are balanced well. So let's say you have 4 good players against like 8 not that skilled players, but when they play Level Up, they are balanced thanks to the
Yeah.
handicapping
Right.
system.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was trying to play the Czech version of Level Up with them, obviously with resets, but when I tried it, GND won somehow, but he was very frustrated from the thing that he wasn't able to level up. And I was like, you know that you won because you had the most points. It was like, but yeah, but I wanted to level up so bad.
Mm-hmm.
So
OG&D.
yeah, there are like many game modes that I know. Like I said, zombies, color conquest, dead aim, level up. What else we've played? There are many more. I can
Of
like
course.
remember all of this now. Or wedlock. I love to play wedlock. Most of the people hate wedlock because one of the resets, and second because you know who you are with. But I like it, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm always like surprised that people don't know the game modes because
Well,
Laser Force is Laser Force because of the game modes.
here's the truth. People like what they're comfortable with.
Oh yeah,
G&D got to have resets as part of his Laserforce experience since the beginning, as did most of us
oh
in the
yeah,
US and New Zealand and Australia, I believe. Um, so for all of us, we know and we like resets, but for people in the Czech Republic, you learned it without resets. And so introducing resets kind of makes it completely different. Like I don't blame anybody for not wanting to play with resets. And it in my opinion, it's not right or wrong to play with resets.
yep,
What I think is important is that like it's not that we all have to agree on what the best way or the most optimal way to play Laser Force is. As long as everyone's having fun, that's good. It only becomes a
exactly.
problem once we start to do organized events. When we try
Okay,
to have people come together to play, we have to all agree on the same rule set. And that's where people sometimes are going to have to get out of their comfort zone.
yeah. Like
And
like on Monday when we were having the members night, and I'm still learning all the rules, and Rusty was like when I tagged him, "Hey Lucy, don't forget about the shoulder," or when I
Mhm.
was rushing to clear a point for our resupply, I just ran in there and tagged someone, and they were like, "Hey ref," and I got immediately penalized. I was like, "Okay, I made a mistake. I'm sorry." So yeah, Laser Force is Laser Force because of resets, because of the variety of game modes, and because of the rules, and because of the incredible look of the G8s. To be honest,
I Laser Force is Laser Force because it's Laser Force brand. Whatever people choose to associate with Laser Force is going to be different for each person. Whether it's the look, whether it's the resets, whether it's a certain game mode or certain community even. Like I don't know. Laser Force means something to all of us. That's why there are now 3 podcasts at this moment that are Laser Force focused because people they just love this thing. Laser Force is amazing around the world and it just looks a little different from culture to culture. And that's okay. I
yeah,
just challenge people to get out of
and
your comfort zone. Don't force people to play by your rules. Try playing by their rules. That's how we're going to bring the
yeah,
world
and
together.
basically nothing is bad. Like most of the people back in Czech Republic think that resets are bad.
Right.
I used
They're
to
not.
thought it as well,
Mm-hmm.
but once I got into it, I now know that it is something different. It's not bad. It's something different,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't blame people on like either side of they are. If they're
Mm-hmm.
like in pro with the resets or if they are in cons with the resets. I know why they have their reasons, and I have nothing against them as long as they are willing to play with me uh, with the rules we agreed on.
That's right, as long as we agree on the rules. Yeah, good on you. I mean, you really had to learn a whole new type of laser force during your first Space Marines tournament. So I commend you for that. Because I know that was frustrating. It's like learning a second language, but in laser tag. I don't know. I mean, honestly, if I were to come over to the Czech and play some laser tag, whether it be a laser ball tournament or one of these other modes you described, I would happily do it without resets. I'm interested to try it and see what your type of laser tag out in the Czech Republic is like. Because it's not good or bad. It really isn't. It's
Yeah.
just unfamiliar. But yeah. Anyways, what just to wrap this up a little bit, what do you think one thing people can take away from this discussion is?
That's Laserforce is Laserforce because it's Laserforce. Nah, because of like the thing it offers. And you can basically find people who are willing to play with you everywhere in the world. Don't forget to bring your card, your membership card, anywhere you go, like I was telling with the Switzerland story. And if you create art for someone, keep consulting with them. It's the main point with everything, because I've also created Twitch emojis for the Resupply channel, and I'm currently working on another artwork for them. And I'm in touch with GND, and almost all the time I ask him, hey, is it good for you, or do you want some change? So yeah, it's important to keep in touch with the one who's ordered your art.
Yeah, those are really good tips. And the one thing that I want players to take away, early on in the discussion when we were talking, it got me thinking about what arenas are memorable and what aren't. I can remember the Sacramento arena so clearly because of its awesome visual design, and I haven't set foot in that arena in 6 years. And there's other arenas that I have played in more recently, and I kind of remember layouts, but I don't remember specific parts of them very well, just because of how, I don't know, they're not well defined. They're not well, there's not a lot of detail, there's not a theme, there's not edges that are highlighted on the dangerous parts of the arena so you don't slam into them. You know, just remember how important visual design is for your arena. And if you are playing at an arena that isn't very well spruced up, talk to the owner and see if you can get them to hire a visual artist such as Lucidun, or maybe you yourself could step into that world.
Yeah, and it's also important to have like a thing that people will carry with them when they step out of the arena. Either it is like the unicorn from Tomik's side, or from my arena is the llama mascot, because our our owner's nickname is Llama. So you can see 4 llamas in the 4 corners, or in the 4 parts of the maze. And I remember that the one in the Among Us part, in the yellow part, is pointing, and he's basically telling you where to go to get the base.
Oh, that's awesome. It's a helpful llama.
Yeah, and it even got that far that my graduation artwork involved playing cards themed with Laserforce. So yeah,
That's
laser
cool.
tag
I want to
can
order some of those.
become. So yeah, Laserforce can become literally part of your life, just as became mine. So if I didn't found my way to the resupply community and maybe into laser at all, I wouldn't be here in Australia today. I wouldn't be speaking with you, and I wouldn't have experienced the nets, because man, that was something.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, it can definitely change your life. So, 2 final things. One, I did the math, and if someone were to fire 2,000 shots in 15 minutes, they would have to fire 2.22 shots every second.
Wow.
For the entire game.
Well, yeah, and there's a thing about rapid fire. You can actually have the rapid fire during the game, so yeah.
Okay, that helps a lot, because if someone had to pull the trigger that fast for that long, they would get the worst cramps imaginable. So there's that. And the final thing is, now, is there anything you'd like to plug for the listeners? Feel free to repeat what you said earlier or add anything else. I'll make sure to put all the links that you sent me into the description so people can access those.
Okay, so if you want to find me or our communities, head onto Facebook. On Facebook, you can find my English page, which is called Lucidun. I do some English posts in there about like tournaments, or when I do some of the art or some laser tag stories. If you want to know more about the MT community, you can find it on Facebook as MT Community. It has a black logo. And if you want to see some of my videos, because I've also done some like video shootings, including the Laserforce, because I've studied it at my art school as well. Had on YouTube, my channel is Lucidun as well. And I also publish the podcast in there. Most of them are in Czech, but I published one with GND in English, and I need to edit one more in English because we did a little Q&A from I think it was a month ago. It was like day before I flew from Auckland. So definitely there will be more episodes in English. Don't know if it be under the MT brand or if it's gonna be just mine, but yeah, I've definitely had there. And you can also find me on Instagram, Lucidun_D. And there are some like story highlights, and one of them is laser tag art. So you can see my art journey throughout the years, basically for the whole 5 years. And the final thought of mine is never stop believing, never stop giving up. Because
never stop.
Because you don't know where it's gonna take you. Like myself, I wanted to quit when I ended my cooperation with my site, but thanks to the people in the community, thanks to the MT community for accepting me in, and thanks to the resupply and like the international community, I didn't give up. I'm here, and I kind of got a second chance, I guess.
Well, we're very glad you're part of the community, Lucy. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah.